Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this awesome Gottlieb Bank-A-Ball pinball machine. How cool. What a beautiful classic. So we did one video where we kind of just looked it all over and admired it and reveled in its glory. And then we did another video where we worked through the bottom cabinet, looked for problems down there, and worked on the bottom of the playfield. Now, the top of the playfield, the customer has fixed up themselves, so we're not going to do too much on there, but there are a few things we need to do. We need to still do all the stuff in the back box, including work on the awesome animation in the back box. I've heard people call this a double animation, actually. This is a plexiglass back glass on this particular one, or I believe it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's plexiglass. It's a plexiglass back glass, but it has this interesting little thing where all of the pool balls light up on the back box, but then they also drop up here whenever you score that particular ball. So we need to work on all of that. But the first thing that I wanted to address is these flippers are dragging on the playfield. That ain't right. See how they've hit the playfield? If you look, I'm doing this lightly, people. Hear that? I mean, it's scratching the playfield. And so it has scratched the heck out of it. So whenever that happens, that's usually the bushing that goes through the playfield. This shoe here goes down through the playfield through a piece of nylon. So we're going to replace those. But the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'll take these shoes off the top and see if that could be the problem, if something's not mounted right. What is the deal? Okay, so this is the model where you can just take a screw loose to take the shoe off of the... I always get them confused. I think that's the shoe and that's the foot, I believe. The shoe goes on the foot, right? So you can take that off, and that's not hitting. You can see where this has been hitting. So we've ordered the bushings. When they come in, we're going to put them in, and hopefully that'll raise that up in the air a little bit. But it could be as simple as you can put a washer here to basically get this shoe up a little bit. It's going down around that far enough that it's dragging on the playfield. We got to stop that. Same thing on this one. See the literal wear marks where it's been dragging the playfield. So we got to replace those bushings and get that all straightened out. Okay, folks. So I am on pinballresource.com. We just ordered from Steve. Ordered some parts for this machine, and so I'm looking at the shaft that is supposed to connect to the flippers, and this is what it looks like. So here's what I'm looking at. See that little spacer there? So the bushing goes inside the playfield. I ordered new bushings from them, and it comes up and it sticks out of the top of the playfield. It's nylon, so the shaft goes down through it, right? And so our problem is the shoe or the flipper plastic is too low and it's dragging the playfield. And so I'm thinking that isn't on it, and sure enough, I don't even know where this came from, but look, this one's made without that little raised section. I thought that was it. So without that, it makes this blade sit right on top of the bushing, and then whenever you mount the plastic to it, it's basically touching the playfield, or close enough that it rubs. Okay, so it should be like this. It should be raised up a little bit. The bushing comes up here, and then it rides on this, what's basically a washer. So I'm just going to take a washer and put here on top of the bushing to raise that up just a little bit, and it won't drag. But we're going to have to wait a little bit because I ordered those bushings, and I want to put new ones in just to make sure that had nothing to do with it. So whenever they come in, we'll compare the two. Here's another picture on Marco's Specialties website. That's how they're supposed to look, and for whatever reason, this set doesn't have that. This is just a different, this must have been some third-party one that was made at some point, and it's just different. So I don't understand why they would make it without that little lip. Because any machine you install it in, it's going to drag the playfield, and it looks like it's been rubbing the hell out of this one, caused all kinds of cosmetic damage. That if they would have just made the part like that, it wouldn't have happened. Why would they do that, people? Come on, people. You need to, people. Come on now. You can't do this, people. It ain't right. Come on now. When you make the that's why you let the Pinball Resource make them. They'd make the stuff the right way. Look at this. This ain't right. They shouldn't have. Come on. They shouldn't have done that, people. Come on now. Come on now. Buy from a reputable place like Pinball Resource or Marco Specialties. They got the good stuff. Look, it's got the little... I mean, I don't even know why they... Come on. They're starting to get me upset here now. Okay, folks, so we're around to the back box. So we have the big mechanical piece at the top with the 15 drops that we got to mess with. I mean, the 15 relays we have to mess with. We've got 3 normal relays here, probably points relays. We've got a couple fuses. That's interesting. Got a small bell. Got some adjustments over here for high score and things. Okay. Got the replay unit. Got a OCTA9 unit. Not the 9 unit. And we've got 3 score reels. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up these Jones plugs, because we haven't cleaned these yet. We did clean the ones that go to the playfield, but we haven't cleaned the ones that plug the mech board on the bottom into the board on the top. So basically we're just going to go through, clean the pins, get everything where it's making a good connection, just to make sure that all of our signals are properly getting from the top to the bottom. So let me pull one out and I'll show you the horrible, horrible, horrible shape that they're in after all these years. So you've probably seen us do this 1,000 times, but basically these get so corroded and oxidized that electricity doesn't pass through them very well anymore. The old Jones plugs. So you got to get your connectors nice and clean. So there's a million ways to do that. I've been playing around with the idea of doing it chemically, but I haven't started doing that yet. So we're still doing it physically. Deal with it, people. So you can use sandpaper. You may be able to use Tarnex. I've heard that works, but I haven't used it, so I can't say for sure. But we just need to get those nice and clean. What I use is a little sanding sponge. Now this is, someone sent us these. These are Japanese knife cleaners. They're like little rock sponges. And they work pretty good. So you can use sandpaper and stuff too. Somebody came in. But while they were here, I cleaned this one up. This one still needs it, so. So there you go. So if you're interested in this or any of our other little doodads that we use in our videos, you can check them out on our website. Go to lionsarcade.com, and there's a parts page where we link a bunch of the little stuff that we use. A lot of it's links to Amazon. If you go to Amazon through one of those links, it gives us a tip for anything else that you buy while you're on Amazon. So we appreciate that. So let me clean both of these up, and then we'll put them back in. You can also clean the female end of it with a bore brush that's used for to clean small barrel-shaped bores. I'm not allowed to say what they're for, but it's on our website. People are real freaky about that right now, so go check that out too. Okay, so I'm gonna clean those up, and then we'll put it all back together, and then move on to the next thing. So we buried those back down to where they go. Here is the replay unit. It keeps track of how many credits are on it. Curiously, on my camera, it looks like the 7's missing, but it's not. It's just the way the light was reflecting. So it's just a neat little stepper. Basically, this one adds a credit, and this one subtracts a credit. Now, there are various ways of doing free play on these. One way you could do it is just remove one of the wires that goes to the coil that subtracts a credit. Another way you can do it is whenever this subtracts, there is a little bar that spins around. If I can see it in there. There it is. It's a little dark. Let's lighten up the subject. I don't have enough hands, people. There we go. See that bar? As that moves around, it's going to hit these switches here and open it. Except, someone's bent them slightly out of the way so that it can't open them. So it can't turn off the credits. So basically, whenever you hit start, that start button runs through, or they call it the replay button, runs through one of those switches that we just looked at. If it's still closed, that means that bar isn't at 0, so there must be more than one credit. So when it gets down to 0, it opens that switch. So then when you hit the replay button, the power is not connected. It's simple as that. So to put them on free play, all you have to do is bend that little switch where it's always closed. Or you could, like I said, remove one of the wires from the subtract coil. It depends on how you want to do it. So there's not really much there. I cleaned those switches. There's a few switches down there on the front we're going to get whenever we take the whenever we lay this board down to mess with the light bulbs. But we're on to this one, the 0 to 9 unit. Very simple little stepper. It's a one-direction, one-way stepper. Every time this pulls in, it moves one step. And it moves this little disc around. The sound you're hearing is the clapper. There is a little, let me see if I can find it. That's on the other side. I want you to see it. It's so cool. So there's a little clapper that slaps the side of the bell. So the 0 to 9 unit, I think every time you get a 1-point score somewhere, this turns. Whenever we get our schematics in, we'll be able to know for sure. But so certain things on the playfield, whenever you score 1 point, it's going to turn this a little bit, and it's going to make that little clapper ring. The 10 points might do this one, and the 100 points might do the one in the bottom that we looked at last time. So 3-bell unit. This is going to be a good sounding game. They use this 0 to 9 unit to do like the match and some stuff like that sometimes. So whenever we get the schematics, we'll look that up and figure out what they do with it. But for now, we need to fix it. So I'm going to see if I can get her out of there. There is a hairpin clip here. Let's see if that's going to let that fall down. I think it is. Take that out. Use both hands if you're not trying to use the camera. It even came with an associated noise. And so we lay this down, and we're going to take this plate off, but not... Okay, since it's a one-step unit and there's no switches or anything on the back, you can put it back on wherever you want. You just want to make sure it lines up on the rivets. So I'm going to get a flathead screwdriver, and we'll take those off so we can look at the rivet board down there. Okay, folks, so here is I always call it Bakelite boards, but I've had so many people tell me I'm absolutely wrong. So now we'll just call it the brown board. The brown board, the rivet board. This one isn't really all that bad. It's a little bit dirty. It'd probably work like that, but we're going to clean it up. So this little disc, you understand the situation, just spins around on there, and those little rivets connect a couple connections. And it does that so that it can have a little animation in the game. It needs that to be able to move so that it can have a different number and a variable. So we're just going to clean it up. It was moving just fine, so I'm not even going to take this off. You can take that off, take the whole thing apart, clean it, re-lubricate it and all that, but it's working fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these rivets, and then I'm going to put a little bit of synthetic grease on it, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I just wiped it down with some degreaser 409. Cleaned all the old grease off. Shined up the rivets with our same little thing. And then put a little dielectric grease on it. We love this stuff. This is the stuff here, people. Dielectric, that's what you want. We have that on our website too. Put a little bit of it on it, and that will lubricate the pins when they go around. Make it just where you don't have any you don't have as much friction. So whenever you do this, make sure you also clean the pins on here. Okay, but we're ready to put that back on, and we'll see if it's still turning as beautifully as it was before. Okay, so after putting it back together, we've got this little issue. Well, watch whenever it goes around. So see how I have it lined up on the rivets? Well, I guess it won't turn like that. There we go. I've got this thing going on where it gets off the rivets, and see how it jumped 2 spots that time? And it's not on the rivets. So what's going on there? It's because it needs adjusted. There's a critical little adjustment here on the back. So watch this little bar in relation to the teeth there. So as the coil comes on, it pulls in, and that bar comes down and gets under the tooth, okay? And then it goes a little farther, and you want it to go about halfway, about like that. But this one, look, it goes almost 2 teeth. We had the same exact problem on a similar one recently. So the reason that it's doing that is because the coil stop here has worn. So it allows it to go farther up inside here, which means it goes down farther here. So the way you fix it is you loosen this. Make sure I got the right ones. You loosen the screws on the back, and you can move this whole piece up and down. So we're going to move it down just a little bit. There's also this adjustment. This bar should just barely come really close to touching that, or barely tap it. A lot of times that will be broken because it's gone in so far it's breaking it. Okay, so let me adjust that a little bit and see if I can get it a little better on that gear. All right, so I adjusted it a little bit. Let me hang it back up in here, and then we'll be able to make it wiggle without needing 3 hands. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? You look like you're ready. So I'm trying to see if it's skipping any. And it is not. 1 step at a time, folks. That's the way you do anything worthwhile. 1 step at a time. All right. Look how clean it's getting as I go. Beautiful. 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 All right, so we're on to the freaking score reels. Ugh, God, I don't like them. Okay, so there's a couple little clips. It's not that big of a deal, folks. I don't know why you're so upset. And let's go ahead and take this sucker off. Now, whenever you take these off, they can be put back together. They'll only go one way. They thought of it. They thought of everything for us. So don't worry about it. So I'm going to take those 3 screws loose, and we'll start taking that apart. Okay, so I took the 3 screws loose, and then this little plate is on there. Okay, and then once you take that loose, you can take the score reel off. Now if you look, see how 2 of the holes are smaller? Because of that, this will only go on one way. So you don't have to worry about taking that off. Once you take that off, this is below it. And then once again, if you notice, 2 of the holes are smaller. So a big protrusion won't go through there. So because of that, it will only go one way. Okay, so you come down to this. So I'm going to take these two screws loose so that we can get down to the underlying switches. No, right, so I've got that loose. We're not actually going to take it off. We're just doing that so that we can see around it. And so there's a switch there. There's a switch there. And then there are a couple switches back there. So as this plunger goes in, look at the dexterity here, people. Look at the dexterity. Let's zoom even. So when the plunger goes in, it's spinning this shaft here. That, remember, has the score reel attached to it. And eventually, you get where that left one has open and the right one is closed. Then you go one more and the left one is closed and the right one is open. Remember, like in everything else, if they're closed, they should open. If they're open, they should close. Now this one is the end of stroke switch. So when it goes in, that opens every time, right? And then this one is probably going to be like the 9 position switch. Okay, so it's on 9. So now whenever it gives it another zap to turn it to 0, since that switch is closed, it's also going to send the power over to the next reel and bump it up to 1. Because you need both reels to roll, you know what I mean? So it goes 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point, 6 point, 7 point, 8 point, 9 point, and then whenever it turns to 9, it closes that switch. So then it goes another point, but that switch is closed. So not only does it move this one, it goes through that switch and moves that one. Makes it have 1 point, and this go 1 more point to 0. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That's a smart way to do it. They were brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to carefully clean those switches, clean up whatever I can, and then we're going to carefully reattach that little board. Easy peasy. Now you can take this completely apart if you want, and get it as clean as you want. Nothing wrong with that. But you know, we're doing it as a service to people, and we're charging them for it, so we'd have to charge extra to completely disassemble everything. We like getting them nice and as clean as possible and up and running well. The dirt and things inside of there aren't necessarily going to keep it from running well. It's just they won't look brand new or anything, right? So we'll clean it up the best we can and then move on. It's the same deal. Clean it up. Little dielectric grease. I actually glued the little stickers back on too. Those fell off. I glued them back on. And so now we're going to put the 2 or 3 pieces that put the reel back on, and we'll be done with this one. Now the middle one doesn't actually have a board. It's just, I believe, yeah, it's just the hundreds and the ones reel. The ones reel for the match, and the hundreds reel needs this board for the high score. But the tens reel doesn't actually, they don't even need to know where that is. So the game knows whenever it's at 9, and it knows when it's at 0, but it doesn't really know when it's at 1 through 8. On this one, it knows exactly where it is because it needs to make the match work. But it's not active logic like a computer. You know, it's just whenever it runs whenever the electricity connects, it connects wherever it connects. So they need it on this one to make the match work, and they need it on this one to make the high score work, but this one doesn't need one. So it's a little bit easier to clean because you don't have to worry about that board and all the associated wires with it. Okay, so I got them all back how they go. I think we're good with that. There is a line on that one and on that one. It must be hitting something on the front. We're going to examine that here shortly. I came up to the score relays, pulled them out, and cleaned them. Now, I was showing in the previous video, these things are screwed in. Usually they're not like that. Usually they have like a clip, but maybe on the older ones they are screwed in. So I unscrewed them, took them out, retightened the screw so that the relay was sitting in there where it sits, and then adjusted and cleaned the switches like we always do. So, you know what that means? It means we're up here to this big bank. You know, it's called bank-a-ball, and then there's the biggest relay bank I've ever seen in a Gottlieb machine. So let's fold this sucker down. Whoa, it's loose. Someone else has already had it folded down. Here she comes. Pretty cool. I wonder if that's why there's a thing going on where they weren't going all the way down. I wonder if it's just because it was loose. They didn't fall down in the glass far enough where you could see them really well. But we'll figure that out. Okay, so it's missing the number 4. I have ordered one. We're going to attach the number 4. We're going to figure it out. But the main thing that I see is that they have adjusted it wrong, where these switches, they've got on top of this relay on each one. So you can see there's the relay. So it pulls in. Well, why can't it pull in? Oh, that one's all screwed up. Look, it's out of position. Let's pull this one in. This one's going to cooperate, I think. It pulls in and the thing drops. But it's not set up right. See how that's still connected? It shouldn't be where it's closed and then whenever you drop it, it's still closed. These long blades are supposed to be under this thing. So this one down here, I have set up how it's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be, it's connected. Now that bottom one, yeah. I know this is hard to see. So this is a short blade, and this is a long blade, and that is another short blade. So when this trips, this should push the long blade down so that it hits the other short blade and disconnects from this. It's called a make-break switch. So let's see if it wants to cooperate. I was holding it so it didn't. But yeah, it wants to cooperate. Okay, so I need to clean all those switches. See how dirty the rivets get? Look at that. Ugh. The contacts, I should say. So I need to clean all them, and then I'm going to very carefully bend that long blade underneath each one of these. Now you could just take every one of these out and take the screws off and slide it under there if you want to. That would be another way of doing it. But we're still waiting on our number 4 ball. We're having it custom made, folks, but it's on the way. So let me clean this up a little bit, clean all these switches, and then put them all back how I think they're supposed to be. Okay, folks, so I've went through, moved them all back, and adjusted them. Now I'm waiting on the schematics. So the 8-ball one looked a little different. It looked like it kind of had 2 sets that it pushed down and a couple things. So we got to check on the 8-ball. And I was correct. You need to move that all the way up. See that wing nut there? That kind of holds that, defying gravity. So you have to get that up in the air so that it snaps into the right place. And if you do that, and it's just right, when they fall down, you can see them through the window. And I think it's about right. And there's the one we're missing. And I think it's about right. So, we're waiting on that ball, schematics, and the flippers. I ordered them earlier today. I don't know why they're not here yet. I mean, surely they could have got here from New York already. I don't understand. So we got to wait on the mail a little bit. And whenever we get those in, we'll finish those last 2 things up, and then let's plug it up and see what we got going on. Okay, folks, so we got in our new bushings, and they do look a little bit taller than the old ones. Okay, so they're going to mount like that underneath the playfield. And you can see it's just a little bit taller. These are worn just a little bit. So that'll help us a little bit, but I'm still going to add that little washer just to make sure. So let me put the bushings back on and we'll see how they look. So you can see the difference between the old one and the new one is negligible. The old one's on this side, new one's on that side, but it is just slightly taller. So that'll help a little bit. Okay, so without the washer, it actually has the correct clearance. So it was just the bushings. Not touching anything now. And it's on both sides. So we're good. Okay, so problem solved. All right, folks, we got them back on there. And I can slide a couple business cards under them without hitting them. So it's, I mean, that's not the official measurement, but it's worth trying, right? So they are not touching. And when they flip, they don't touch. So I think we're good. Now I line these up with the end lanes. They may have originally hung down a little farther. You can tell by looking at the original flyer for the game sometimes. But I think that will be fine like that. So very good. Oh, and I drew the letters back in a little bit on that one. Okay, so we need to test play it a little bit, and we need to mess with trying to put that number 4 ball back on it. Okay, folks, so here is the little piece we've been waiting on. Look how cool. So we'll have our number 4 ball back. This is the armature off of it that it mounts to. Now, it originally was held in place with those 2 rivets, and then this thing went through it as well and was riveted on. I don't have a way to replace this easily though. You can use a like a screw and a nut, but you run into problems if you make it too much wider than it is. You can see where the blade of the switch has been hitting it. Then you can see where the rivets are that hold the thing on the side. So you got to be kind of careful with how you mount it. So what I'm going to do is, some people have taken this off and replaced it with something else. I'm going to leave it because it's on there so well. I'm going to cut a little groove in that so that I can fit it around it. Right? And then the bottom 2 rivets, Pinball Resource actually sends new rivets with it. Head side on the plastic, the crimp side on the metal arm. So let's see what we can do. Okay, folks, so there it is installed. Look at that. I cut a little bit too much off the top, but it'd be alright. I went a little crazy with it. The 2 rivets, though, we got installed, and it is on there good. Now, I won't show you how I riveted it because I don't have the proper tools. So I don't want to show you the wrong way to do it. Let me put my hammer up here. Forgot to put that up a second ago. I was using it. It was for something else. I was using that a long time ago, people. Long time ago, way back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mount this back in the cabinet, and then we will have all of our pool balls, and we can test it a little bit. All right, folks, so we got the flippers. I replaced all the light bulbs in the back box. Boy, she looks sweet. Look at the fun everybody's having on the back glass. We'll have to check it out in the dark once we get it all done. But wow, what a cool game. Okay, so you know what we need to do? We need to see if the number 4 is with us. Let's see. Let's do a couple of them. That didn't work. What's up with that? Maybe I didn't hold it long enough. Yeah. I've had that problem before, people. Your finger is not a good substitute for a pinball machine. I mean, for a pinball in a pinball machine. Okay, so we hit 1 and 6, and the 1 and the 6 have disappeared from the pool table. And they have popped down up here. It's a little too bright to be doing this right now, but we'll do it. And then the number 13. Bam! You got to give it a good thump. The 13 is dropped. All right, now here's our number 4 making its grand appearance for the first time in this beautiful Gottlieb banker ball. Bam! I don't know, folks. It doesn't get old to me. I mean, I know a lot of you are more mature, but to me, I like that you play the game. The little ball hits the thing, and a little pool ball falls down on the back glass. I mean, that's cool. This is what life is all about. If you don't enjoy this, you're really not enjoying life. This is the type of stuff that you should always treasure. Bam! Number 15. All right, so there we go, folks. So next time we'll play it a little bit, and we'll make sure everything's working. But it looks like we've about got it. So we'll do one more video because this sucker sure deserves a gameplay video. So make sure to leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. We didn't have to do that, people. We could have enjoyed this ourselves. We didn't have to film this for you. So leave your comments down below. I'll try to answer as many of them as I can, given the time in my day. And if you want to know how to support our channel, we have links to Amazon down below. And then also on our website, you can go to lionsarcade.com. There is a parts page at the top where we list a bunch of the items that we use in our repairs and things like that. If you click on any of those, it takes you to Amazon. So then if you buy anything on Amazon, like I was just talking to a guy on email who bought a bunch of PA equipment. He said he lives in Hawaii. So he bought a bunch of mixing equipment and PA equipment and a solder sucker and a soldering iron and all kinds of stuff like that. And was emailing me about it. So thank you, buddy. We appreciate that. Now, the last thing to do is make sure to check out, well, I'm going to give you 3 things to check out. Check out my brother, Donnie. That's literally my brother. He has a channel here on YouTube. There's a link down below. If we work on pinball machines, arcade games, jukeboxes, he works on old buildings, old vehicles, things like that. We all like all the old stuff. So go check him out. So that's 1. 2, check out our buddies at the pinballresource.com. That's where we got that little pool ball. That's where we got the flipper things. We were talking about that earlier. Make sure to check out pbresource.com. And then 3, check out our buddies at the Goat Shed EM Pinball Repair Palace in Australia. Kim and his friend run that place and do excellent work on electromechanical pinball machines. So if you like these videos, you would love their videos too. They have a similar attitude about repair, in my opinion. Like they still see the fun in the games. It's not all technical to them. So go check it out. We'll be watching their videos as well, and we'll see you on the next video on this Banka ball where we'll finish it up and play it a little bit.